Hey, this is Keith from Save the Rust. Today I'm going to show you a couple little bikes I own, and they're all Francis Barnett's. And Francis Barnett started somewhere in the teens, and then probably went till the 60s, I believe. 50s for sure. This one's a 51, and then we'll show you a couple others we have. One's really rough, but and in pieces, but I hope you find it interesting. Follow along. So today I thought I'd tell you about another favorite bike of mine. That seems to say that all the time, but I really enjoy this bike. I've always have. It's a rough old 1951 Francis Barnett 197cc Villiers powered bike, 3-speed, and I got this close to 10 years ago, and got it from a friend who had it for a few years, and I've always enjoyed it. It's always ran really well, and looking back at a lot of pictures, there's a lot of friends' kids that I've taken for rides now that are like 15, 16, 17 years old. When they were just little kids, I'd put them on the tank and take it for a ride. So it's kind of neat to look back and see memories with these old bikes with not only yourself, but with other people. So again, we'll get back to this bike here. This is again, a 1951 Francis Barnett. This one's got the telescopic front end. Before that, it was like a girder style. You can see that rear stand, that rear part of your fender, like the rear mount, is also a front center, like a front stand for the, so you can take the tire off. It has the toolbox on the right side and single exhaust. Some of the earlier ones were a twin port, so they had twin exhausts on it. I'm not really sure what else to say except it's a lot of fun. It really takes you back to a time that it was a lot simpler. I love going down the back roads with this bike, down the gravel roads and taking little trails through the bush, and it feels right on that in that scenario. It's a lot of fun. I've had this bike on a couple of little two-stroke runs at the Antique Motorcycle Club of Manitoba, have yearly, and I've ridden it all over. It has a Miller headlight and ammeter, and I just put a generic Lucas rear tail light on it. I never did have the original tail light. It has a side stand that's not correct. It should have a rear stand, but I never found one, and I didn't look that hard to be honest either. This is a two-stroke, so you mix your fuel. This one has the built-in measuring cup, so you put 4 of these full for 1 gallon of gas. It's actually written right on the side here. This bike, I've had it sitting for a couple of years, just upstairs in the garage, just running other bikes, and so this year, this spring, I'm gonna be getting this, doing some servicing, getting it all ready to run again. So I'll show you some other features on it. So this has the 197cc Villiers bike, hey Shash, and kickstart only. Here's how you check your oil level in your transmission. You can see it needs some oil. Here's the filler point. This is a cover, and behind this cover is actually the flywheel with where your points and your lighting coils and your ignition coils are all hidden out behind here. It's got a right foot shift, left foot brake, and your traditional throttle and I believe that's a choke on that one. Yeah, that's a choke assembly or choke lever. Front brake. There's your amp gauge. Here's your high and low for your lights. It is a Miller headlight. "19-inch front tire and 19-inch rear tire." It's got a Terry saddle. And one of the nicest features on these old Villiers motors is that primary cover. Just, you know, very nicely cast, and I love the wing. So this bike this is just a good little runner, just to run around the back. You can see some really ugly cutting of the fender there, and there's quite a few holes in it, but these are pretty rare around here, at least in Canada. You don't find too many Francis Barnetts. You'll find, you know, 10 Jameses for every Francis Barnett. Here's a bunch of Francis Barnett parts that I have that are extra. This is, again, about 47, 48, 46, somewhere around there. This came out of Saskatchewan, Canada. Got the rubber pads. It says Francis Barnett on them. And then toolbox. That might be actually a New Hudson, but that's New Hudson. But really nice tank. And here's a small collection of motors for my 35 Francis Barnett and transmissions. So the exact year, so this one's a 36 to 40. I think this one's a 35. There's some variations. What's neat about this setup here is you can see that the cradle, the bottom cradle of the frame, is holding the motor, the transmission, and the mag dyno. And yeah, it's kind of neat. These are 250cc motors, so they're hard to find nowadays. I, again, found them locally. Somehow I continue to find this stuff. So another one of my Francis Barnetts, which is not complete, but is this, like a mid-30s Francis Barnett Cruiser. So originally it would have looked like this. And I got a couple motors in the basement for it, and I'll get a little more up close personal with it and show you some neat features on it. So this is about 1935 Francis Barnett Cruiser. Really neat bike. This one, it's a lot rougher than I thought when I first got it. It was sitting on a pole in Pinawa, Canada, and there's the front fender, and there's some blade forks there. This large canister, that's part of the exhaust, and it was literally sitting on a pole outside of by a garage, and for 20 or 30 years. You're gonna see behind this, sorry for the terrible pictures here, or terrible video, but there's another Francis Barnett Cruiser there. That one's even rougher. I found that on a riverbank about 5 miles from my house about a decade ago. And the idea was to build one out of these two. We'll see if I ever get a chance to. They're both quite rough, missing lots of parts, and these are really, really rare in North America. I'm not sure how many exist, but at least less than, or no more than, not less than 5. I know of about 5 in Canada. So really rare, kind of neat. They're 250cc. They had covers over the engine, so that for women riders. So if you looked at the picture here, it's a blade fork, hand shift. You can see the covers over the motor and a Kickstarter, 250cc 3-speed, and exhaust. There's a big canister in the front there, aluminum canister that I showed you. And I like these. I love these fenders. And what it reminded me when I first got these was, it reminds me of like an Indian fender from the 1940 and later, but turned backwards. So if you looked at this and you think of a front end of an Indian, it has that same kind of look, you know, really heavily balanced. So I just found those very interesting bikes. So that's one that I'll never get to, but you never know. So here's my last Francis Barnett that I own. This is about a 46, 47 Francis Barnett. This is a 122cc, twin port exhaust. So it's got twin exhausts. And let's go over some of the features on this bike. So one of the neatest things about this bike is the hand shift. You know, most people don't realize that some bikes actually came with a hand shift off the transmission. Some refer to it as a jockey shift, but this is a hand shift. It's a right side kicker, right hand shifter off the transmission. And like I say, twin port exhaust. So it's got two exhausts, single cylinder, 122cc. On the right side, you got the gas, you got a toolbox, and here's the front stand. So you would loosen this off, and this would drop and allow you to take the tire off, yet the bike is held up in position. Miller headlight with the switch, dim, off, full. It's kind of neat. It's got the built-in lever mounts, like they're welded onto the bar. Again, here's the measuring cup. So you'd fill 4 of those to 1 gallon of gas. This one I got about 2 years ago. There were some questionable repairs done it. Let's put it that way. So when I pulled the primary cover off, they had, because I guess, you know, at the time you couldn't find a lot of new parts for these. You know, the internet wasn't around, and you know, it just was tough. So if you look at this front sprocket, it's pretty ugly. So what happened was the primary chain got so loose that on the primary cover, they actually put a piece of wood as like a tensioner for the chain, because the chain only goes on, and when it's stretched, it's stretched. You cannot do anything to move the transmission bag like in other applications and tighten the primary chain. It's just, when it's wore out, it's wore out. So this one has some really ugly repairs to the bottom of the frame. Really, really ugly. That's how I got it. One day we'll have to address that and fix all that. Here's your pec rock. So push it in and out. I can't remember which is probably pulls open. And I think this is a web girder. So girder fork, you know, really cool little bike. This one's actually got the accessory left-hand oil tank. Okay. So I showed you that the gas cap, you fill up one of those 4 times for every gallon of gas. Well, you put your extra oil here, and then you would put that cap underneath here, open it up, and fill it. So this is rare. I've never seen one of these other than this one. So that's a pretty neat feature. And obviously not original paint. And someone put some really horrible letters on it. But it survived. This is a pretty rare bike around Manitoba, Canada. We got a little bit of work to do on it, but we'll get to it and we'll ride it. So that black tank I showed you that was on the shelf, that's what would be on this one. And so you can imagine it all black with the Francis Barnett in red pinstriping. That's what it would normally look like. It would never have been this blue or white rims. So hope you enjoyed that little bike, that little feature on it. It's a cool little bike. I like it. Love the girder. So I hope you enjoyed that video of our little collection of Francis Barnett's, ranging from 30s to the early 50s. And thanks for all the support. Like and subscribe. Check out our merch that's available and follow along. We'll be riding this one soon, but got to do a little bit of work to it still.